right?
Why don't you start?
Okay, so Sunny and I have been together since 2013. So it'll be 10 years this year.
Wait, for a second, by the way, I thought you were going to like leave that as a blank for me to fill in and make it a test.
No, but like now you're on the hook for a 10-year present.
Oh.
That's what I'm like, oh my God.
So this is what's going to come out of the podcasting?
Yeah.
Is me creating obligations for myself.
Correct. This
Okay.
is correct. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind for,
Yes.
at the top of the list. Anywho, so yeah, we've been together 10 years. We have 3 kids, as everybody knows.
I think you can say as everybody does. I was like, I'm pretty sure not everybody has.
Pretty sure not everyone has 3
It's not like a menu selection. I'll take that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are 2, 4, and 6 years old, as everybody also knows.
Yeah.
So yeah, what else do you want to say?
That I'm good at, by the way. Like, if you're like, how old are your kids? Because that comes up
it's, like,
all the
easy,
time,
2, 4,
right?
6.
With at work with clients and stuff. Yeah, and plus it's like 2, 4, 6. The numbers are easy, right? It's harder if people were to be like,
when's your
when's your wedding anniversary? Things like that. I'm like,
or when's your middle child's birthday?
I'll tell you something I haven't told you before. I always get nervous because I forget when your birthday is. You know what? We're doing travel stuff, and I feel like
how do you forget my birthday?
When you're doing travel stuff and you got to fill in the other person, right? Like their
Dude, I have your like passport number memorized.
And it's one of those things too that you don't want to get wrong, right? Because obviously if I get
you don't
it
want to
wrong,
turn to me and ask me, hey.
Yeah, then I don't want to turn to you and ask you. So I'm just like a little bit nervous. I'm always like, is that it? Is that it? I get it right though. It always works. It's never not worked, right?
Until one day we're at the airport and they're like, ma'am, this doesn't match our records.
This doesn't match our records. We'll see.
That's funny.
Okay. Wait, just to be clear, does that mean that I would have to stay behind too then? Or can I go get on the plane?
Oh, 100% you'd have to stay with me then. We'd both be missing a flight.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't get to leave after making an error.
Obviously, I'm joking.
In fact, I would get on the plane and
joking.
leave you there
I'm
as
joking.
punishment.
I'm joking. I kid. Hey, by the way, that actually did happen once. Remember when my parents I was telling you? Where I was going to New York, and then my dad, after...
Oh, you forgot the passport.
I'll just do this story as a quick aside, okay? Love my dad. My dad's great, but he has there's some funny stories.
He has some quirks.
He has some quirks. So basically what ended up happening once was he came to visit me in Toronto when he was still in BC, as you know, with the story. Yeah. And then he was basically, like as dads do, telling me how I do absolutely everything wrong. I'm not organized, right? I need to like
He's not lying though.
Get my shit together, so on and so forth.
He's not lying.
And so I was hearing that the night before when he arrived, and then the morning we were supposed to go across to Buffalo, and then to take a flight from Buffalo to New York, because it was a better deal that way. Yeah. I was going to show my parents New York. So there we are at the border, crossing here to go across. And as we entered the border, my dad's like, oh shit, I don't have my passport. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're lecturing me on being...
hour and a half drive.
So long story short, then I'm like, okay, you guys gotta, at least get me across, drop me across the border or whatever, right? Like, mom can take me, dad, you chill here, because I had stuff I was gonna do with friends that day.
I know, but knowing him, I know what it would have been like. It was like, no, we came here, so we all have to go back.
Yeah, that's what my dad said. He's like, no. He goes, we all have to go back now, and all of us are gonna go together,
and we're all gonna miss our flight,
and pay more for an emergency flight change or whatever later. I'm like, Dad, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, Mom will do that with you.
Yeah, because the airport in Buffalo is just minutes from the border.
Yeah, I was like, I will go
away.
across, right? And then Mom will go with you on the later flight. And then he was like arguing with me. So anyways, long story short, that's what it reminds me of.
And to be clear, you're never allowed to bring that up, that he made a mistake, right?
No.
Dads are never okay with that.
No.
Like, you can't be like, oh, remember when you... No.
I just looked at him and smiled. I was like, okay.
Anywho, it's hot in this room.
It is. Maybe it's you.
It's always me, but
okay.
Aside from that, what else?
Well, what else do you want to get into in terms of background?
Like,
you wanted to share some of the background, right? For folks that don't.
A lot of people ask us, a popular question I always get is like, how do you maintain your relationship and stuff with kids? How do you guys like still, have this life and you still have kids and you seem happy? Which we are happy. It's not fake.
Oh, we're so happy. I'm so happy. I'm not here as a hostage.
I told you before we started.
Oh, sorry.
You better be good.
I better be good.
You're gonna get it later.
I better be good. I'm gonna be in trouble. What's the
No, we're not gonna do the signal for women who need domestic help.
Oh, I was gonna say domestic help.
Okay, I'm like, don't do that.
Holy smokes. Holy smokes! I was gonna say, isn't
There
there
is
for
a signal,
hostages?
right? There's a signal.
No, but isn't there generally one for hostages? Like if you're being taken as a hostage.
I don't
mean
know
in
what that is.
context.
I know there's one where like women who are being abused at home and they're like on a
okay,
video
cool.
call and they can just do like
Okay.
a hand gesture.
Got it.
I don't know. I guess
I haven't been kidnapped before, so I don't know what that is.
Or for the next podcast, stay tuned. He might do the gesture.
Hey, why is it called being kidnapped if it applies to adults too? Like if somebody, like, knock on wood, right?
It's just called kidnapping. What are you gonna want to
Dad
call
napped.
it? Man nap?
Man nap, dad nap.
Woman nap, man nap. Like it's probably just easier to stick with one
Stick
term.
with kidnap. Okay.
Okay.
Let's continue out.
And then,
Now that we've
there's a
clarified
rabbit
that.
hole and you're going down with people's pronouns. You're going to be changing it. Oh, there's going to
No.
be way too many labels.
Not getting into that conversation.
Yeah, but there'd be too many labels. That's
Too
why
many
we stick
labels.
with one. Kidnapping.
Indeed.
Yeah, so my overall short answer for that question is Sunny and I, before we had kids, right, we both discussed after we got married, like, okay, yeah, we want a family. I wanted 3 kids. I had a timeline I showed him. And this is when I want to have them. Obviously, you can't control if they actually come, according to the timeline. But I had a plan, right? And you were like, all right, okay, I'm okay with this plan. I'm on side.
Okay, wait, to be clear, let's not confuse people. It's not like you had like a menu you showed me or something.
I showed you a timeline on a piece of paper.
You showed me a timeline on a piece of paper?
Yeah. I was
What?
like, at this age, at this year, I'll be this age. This year, I'll be this age. At this age,
And
like,
then I
birth risks go up.
acknowledged it and said, I'm okay with this plan.
You didn't sign off on it, no.
Okay.
You just said, this looks good to me.
I was gonna say, I
I agree.
I guess I don't read stuff before I sign it. I was like,
Clearly.
because I don't have any recollection of this.
Yeah. So, no, but I had a full
okay.
timeline of my age and
Right.
birth-related risks and pregnancy-related risks. And I'm like trying to balance all these factors.
Okay.
Anyways, and thankfully, things did work out according to my timeline. Actually,
did.
perfectly.
They did.
And then when we were discussing, having kids, we did sit down and actually talk about what do we want our life with kids to look like?
Right.
Right? How do we see our future? How do we want it?
Did it line up, Wifey? Since I didn't do my homework clearly,
Not
I didn't
that
read.
conversation.
I didn't know. I'm saying I didn't read this.
No, that was not like a manifesto. I'm
So
saying
you're
in
making it
general,
sound-
we
you're
had
making it sound like a-
conversations about like
Okay, we
what
did.
what do we
We did.
want, what do we
did.
see,
But,
right?
But jokes aside, did it kind of line up relative to that?
100%.
Okay. Good. Yes. Hey.
Not to anything because of what you did, it's because of everything I do.
Somebody got an A. Somebody got an A out of this.
So anyway, so we saw we don't want to be parents that are sleep deprived. Right. We don't want kids in our bed.
Right.
We don't want we want to maintain our relationship while raising our children.
Yeah.
We don't want to get lost.
Yes.
In parenthood. That was
Yeah.
a big thing, especially for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to be just
you don't want to lose yourself. You don't want to lose yourself.
yourself
by
and
virtue
each
of-
other.
Right.
That
That's true.
was important to us.
That's a
Very
good
important
point.
to us.
Yep.
And I think since that day, we've made every single decision when it comes to parenting and our relationship with these views in mind, right? Like, how is this gonna, how is this gonna impact our lives?
Yes.
What we're doing.
Yes. It's
Right.
well said.
Right. So we travel is important to us. So we had systems. Now we have Sunny's parents are here, so they're exceptionally helpful. But before they were here for the first, 5 years of having children, it was just me, the primary caregiver, while Sunny would work. And then when we were going out, we we still had date nights, but we had a roster of babysitters, part-time nannies and all this kind of stuff. My parents and my my siblings and stuff. So we had a system kind of going to make sure that we didn't lose each other.
Yeah, up until the third, right? It's my parents came when Anna was born, right? Right up until our third.
And that's been super helpful and great and awesome.
Definitely.
So it's
just
something
related
to add on that?
Just related to that, I do have something to add on that actually, and it's this. Maybe there's applies to moms too, right? But I know a lot of dads have this thing they do, right? Where for whatever reason, it's the whole to your point about not losing yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Where they accept. And I'm not blaming anyone for this, right? But it's like they assume that it's an excuse to accept less from yourself and what you're capable of because you're now a dad. I'll give you an example. It's this, for example, with this dad bod phrase.
Yeah, but you know what? That one is annoying because
what's
dads
with the popularizing?
but dads don't do anything to have the child. So if anything,
Right.
mom bods should be normalized.
Sure.
Not dad bods.
Sure.
Dads should always look exceptional because you did nothing other than your 2-minute contribution to that creating that child.
Yeah.
You did nothing.
2-minute contribution.
Like, other than that contribution,
Right.
like, you don't deserve a dad bod.
Right.
Okay?
Okay,
Moms do.
Okay, so I'm going to go slightly differently with the comment, right? Which is, of course, you're right that there are way more, things associated with childbirth that impact a woman's body and carrying a baby and all those things, right?
Everything.
For sure, I agree with that point 100%. My point is slightly different, and that is the psychological point.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the physical point, right? That's the physiological impact of obviously carrying a child. Totally,
Yeah.
obviously, that's indisputable, right? My point is that it's like almost a mental thing or a psychological thing where people, and I'm just using this as an example, this whole dad bod thing, right? Where it's like, oh, it's okay because you have kids. We get it. You're busy. You have kids, etc.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not an excuse to start eating like crap. That's not an excuse to stop working out. Like I totally get that your time, right,
Of course.
gets more compressed, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that too, right? The way it was, especially when we had our first, we were figuring everything out, right?
Oh, yeah, it's
but there's no reason why you
chaos.
can't like get out of bed and do 100 push-ups or 300 push-ups or 500 push-ups,
Yeah.
right? In small sets, right? For 15 or 20 minutes, whatever time you got, right?
That's true.
It's the psychological, it's like the willingness to just let yourself
Or even
go
just
or
like,
be
maintain a healthy diet.
totally
right?
Totally, right? It's like, oh, because I have kids, now I have to eat like,
Yeah, it's-
Cheetos and like nonsense. Nothing against Cheetos. Just using that as an example, right?
Yeah, I agree with you, right? I think it's easy to fall into that trap when you
Yeah.
have kids because the kids are often eating, a lot of crap all the time,
Yeah.
right? And we try our best to feed our kids.
Let's talk
whole
about that.
foods.
Let's talk about a bit about that because obviously you and I are very focused always, right, on
Yeah.
eating clean. And then people also oftentimes, I know they ask me, I don't know if you get it at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you enforce the same discipline in your eating on your kids?
Yeah, I get that question too, and I
Yeah.
say generally we tend to try to give them whole foods as
Whole
much as we
foods,
can.
right.
However, understanding that they are children
Right.
and life happens, right? Like they're at a birthday party right now. They're going to
Totally.
have pisa and cake.
Yeah.
That's fine.
We're not going to go follow them and
we're
talk
not
to the
gonna
parents and
go
be like,
and,
"Excuse me, our kids don't eat
here's
pizza
our food
and cake."
for the
Right.
birthday party.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
letting them live and
Yeah,
enjoy
yeah.
their childhood, but at the same time, as it's our responsibility as parents to make sure we're developing their palate to appreciate whole
Yeah.
foods as
We're
much
not-
as possible.
We're not going to facilitate ourselves pizza and cake at home.
No.
But recognizing that life is going to happen and they're going
And
to
allowing it,
inevitably
right?
try all this stuff. Their grandparents are going to take
them
them to
out
McDonald's
and, yeah,
occasionally and
and
things
that's
like
fine.
that, right?
Like, so we don't interfere in that kind of stuff when
Yeah.
the grandparents, for example, want to spoil them. I'm like,
Yeah.
they will like to be fair. Like your parents will always ask, like they'll ask me, right? They'll be like,
Yeah.
are you guys okay with if we give them McDonald's today? I'm like, you know what, just go for it. Like your job as grandparents is to kind of spoil the kids and give them
Right.
that cheat, right? That we don't do, which is okay. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a balance.
There's a difference between that and it being on the menu or part of the program.
The program,
Right? Which it shouldn't
right?
be. It should be completely off the program because it's to the point of what we're saying. It'll inevitably happen occasionally, right?
Yeah, and the kids know that too, right? And so they've been wired a little bit differently. And they're like, oh, look, we had a treat today. It was
Yeah.
unhealthy. And, I don't feel so great after it. But
Yeah.
I had fun and I enjoyed it. And I'm like, that's great. That's fantastic, right?
You're
let's get back on
You're
the
nicer
program.
than I am. I'm
I
way
know.
meaner when they feel bad after
I
like
know.
eating crap. I'm like, eat some more chocolate cake now, all right? Yeah. How's your tummy ache? Tummy ache? Oh, you're the chocolate cake. Eat some. Now you got a tummy ache.
So, like,
so I like really get in there.
they're
and-
older now, so
yeah.
it's different. Like, they go to their friends' houses. And, well, they're only in grade 1 in kindergarten, but they're pretty socially outgoing. So they have friends and
Yeah.
play dates. and all that
Arya is
stuff.
pretty
Oh,
social. She's like,
I dropped her
over
off
the
at the
top.
birthday party today. Our mom tagged along, and like as
Yeah.
soon as we walked in, there was like 20 kids yelling, "Oh my God, Arya's here!
Arya's
Arya's
here,
here!"
Arya's
I'm
here.
like, "Oh God."
social butterfly.
She is right. But as we were saying, so now like the little one who's only 2, he doesn't really go out with anybody other than with us. Well, me, right?
Right.
He doesn't go anywhere. So like the
I was gonna say for a second, I thought you were gonna say, yeah, but the little one, for some reason he doesn't have that many friends. Sorry, I was gonna say, hold on a second, right? Like,
He's too-
calm down. There's a big difference between him and Arya. Okay, go
Yeah,
on.
so he has a great
Go on.
appetite and he eats like whole foods, and we're trying to keep that going as long as we possibly can. Like
Totally.
this kid's diet consists of liver, steak,
Basically,
eggs,
the adult foods,
bacon,
whatever the adults are eating, he's like, yo, you're not gonna give me any of that,
Yeah.
right? Like that.
he
Steak and
eats the
potatoes.
adult meals.
He eats the adult meals.
And it's great. So
Totally.
the other 2 weren't as great with their eating.
Yeah.
Just a side.
Totally. And just one last thought on that is that whatever, it's not that, like, if you give your kids a bunch of processed foods every single day, right? That just becomes their baseline, right? They just get used to it. It's not like they're like...
Well, they're like rats, right? Then they're just like trying to find the drug, right? As much as they can.
True. It just becomes what's normal to them and what they need to sustain. And then you give them whole food, right? Some vegetables, some meat, some eggs.
Disgusting.
Like, oh, this is disgusting all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if that's their baseline, right?
Yeah.
They're happy with it. They're pleased with it. It's not like they're feeling like they're missing out. Of course, that's going to help them developmentally, right? Their brains, right? It's going to make their mood more stable. Which is going to make parents' life, mom's life, easier and so on, right?
Hunger levels are maintained better and stuff too, right?
Totally.
The other thing, like to that point, is screens.
Yes.
So we are mostly screen free. We were until probably Arya turned 5. We were 100% screen free. We don't have TVs in our house. Well, we have one in our room, but like there's no cable or anything. It's him and I watching Netflix maybe once every 2 months, and I fall asleep 10 minutes into the movie.
Well, usually we can't even pick a movie, let's be honest.
Yeah,
right?
Because I just fall asleep.
I don't know if this happens to other people, just as a quick aside.
100%. You spend all your time trying to find the movie.
Trying to find a thing, right?
And then you're like, okay, it's over. I'm tired.
Yeah, then she's like asleep by the time we've agreed on something and found it. Right?
Yeah, but like we have to connect our computers to that screen, so the kids they don't even have access. Definitely. So they do have an iPad that has a couple of educational apps on it, but that's it. Like they don't have Safari, they don't have YouTube, they don't have... the App Store, like it's all password protected by me. They're allowed those 3 educational apps, and that's it. But before we have a Google Home in the kitchen, which I love. It helps like me all the time. But the problem is that the kids had discovered that they could watch YouTube on it. So we would often like wake up and they'd be downstairs watching some random nonsense on YouTube.
Yeah.
So finally like locked it out. So there was a good few months of this where this was happening in the mornings because they wake up and they come downstairs before we do. And then now I've finally figured out how to disable all that content from, whatever time I set it to. And now like I come downstairs and they're like building forts, with the cushions, they're reading a book, they're coloring, they're doing this kind of stuff, and their mood is far more stable.
It is.
Right? There was like this kind of period, right? With behavioral issues, like respect issues, totally. Talking back, like all these things, because they're watching these YouTube videos of these families where the kid's like, screw you, mom. Go away, dad. I don't want to talk to you, like slamming the door. I'm like, what the is this?
Yeah, that's part of it, and also just the flood of dopamine first thing in the morning, right?
That too,
It's incredibly unhealthy, right? There's a difference between dopamine. This applies for adults too, right? When you're doing something difficult like working out, you get the rush of endorphins and the dopamine, you feel great, right?
Yeah.
That's different when you've done something or you've done a task and you have that feeling of achievement after an hour of hard work,
that's not achievement.
Right? Like that, it's not achievement when your brain has easy dopamine that just floods it from watching.
You're just sitting there like a zombie,
right? You're sitting there like a zombie, and then when it's withdrawn and the adults come down, they pull the plug. Of course, you're going to be irritable, right?
Yeah.
Because you've lost your drug now all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
You got to deal with kind of real life. So yeah, it's been way better since you kind of cut that off.
It's honestly we're back. So
the other thing I was going to say is that I think kids more than, and tell me if you agree with this, even at young ages, right? My sense is that when they know that mom and dad aren't doing the same thing. Right? If it's do as I say, not as I do, right? And the parents aren't being good role models. Rebel. Yeah, they're going to rebel even more. Yeah. Right? It makes it very hard for them, right? When we're like, no, listen, this is how we eat ourselves. Yeah. I'm like, do you see Dad like, eating any junk food? No, watch me. As you can see, I only eat meat. I only eat vegetables. I only eat, eat eggs and so on, fruits or whatever, right? You don't see me eating any junk food. You don't see me ever having cake. And they know that that's the case, right? So it makes it very hard for them to, take the view that inside, because I feel like it's intuitive. They know when you're being a hypocrite. They don't know the word hypocrite. Yeah. They're like, oh, but Dada does it. They would otherwise say, right?
They would say that.
They would say that.
Right.
I used to say that as a kid.
Well, right? And to that point, like, when other people take them out or at their birthday party, they're at birthday parties or anything like that, or even sometimes if I'm at the mall with them and I get them a random, Timbit or whatever they're having, right? And then they'll be like, okay, but we can't tell Dada. Right? And that's a phrase I shut down right away. I'm like, we do not keep secrets, right? In our home, right? I understand Dad is not going to be thrilled, but this like pattern of I'm going to do something, and then hide it.
And then
we're gonna
exactly
because they're going to be upset about it. So I'm like, we have to shut this down right now. Right. So I'm like, no. I go, we can go home and he can know about it. He's going to say, oh, that wasn't a great choice you made today. However, that's fine, right? Just so I don't want them having this, idea that they're allowed to do things outside of the house that are against the rules.
Yeah.
And then they're going to just hide it from us.
Totally.
And keep it a secret. So secrets are a bad word in our house.
Yeah.
So when someone says, Armand, or somebody, even like a cousin or someone comes over and be like, oh, this is a secret. And then I'd be like, secrets are bad.
Yeah.
Secrets are not allowed because they're not allowed, right? Everything, there has to be complete transparency and openness, even if this is something your parent wouldn't be thrilled about.
Yeah.
Right? Because anytime you're keeping a secret, to me, that's a problem, and it's leading you down a dangerous path.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? So that's a principle,
yeah.
right? And it's a really good principle that's worked very well, which to your credit, you kind of came up with. So these different principles, just out of curiosity, did you have any of them in mind before we had our first, or has this all been reactive where along the way, because for me, I admit it's been reactive. I didn't think about any of this stuff. And it just comes to me as
given what I was like my line of work before,
yeah,
which was I'm a defense lawyer, and our main niche was sexual offenses,
right.
often involving children.
Right.
So this was a very important thing to me because I saw this all the time. That this person told me to keep this a secret.
Sure.
That's why I didn't tell my parents.
That's why you had on that specific
point. So that's
point,
why
you had
I was
a greater
like, no
awareness.
Secrets.
Okay.
No secrets.
But I'm saying
right?
beyond that, I'm saying in general, like different philosophies in raising kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have like a list of 5 or 10 things? Was this like another master
But
plan thing?
There were like certain things, like for example, the no secrets, naming the genitalia appropriately. That also came from work, right? Because kids would say, "Oh, he touched my bum." They're like, where? Front? And then be like, front bum. They're like, what is that? Right, so you got to use
that's
proper
okay.
Terminology,
that's all in safety.
Right?
That's all because you.
Yeah, but it's biology too, right? Like
right.
I don't know, my parents are afraid to say penis and vagina,
right,
or breasts, right?
Right, sure.
Like Armand, as I posted a video the other day, we're at a store and he picks up a bra and he goes, "Mom, this would be a great breast holder." Thanks.
Breast holder.
Breast holder. Right. So I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with that, right? And there's actually something I would think is wrong the other way when you're using baby terms.
Right.
Right. Other than that, sorry.
From a safety perspective, yeah. I'm talking about much more than just from a child safety perspective, right? I'm talking about all the different things we're starting to get into this conversation on, right? About what are the right philosophies to instill, for life, right? Like life lessons, philosophies.
Well, though that's exceptionally important to us, right? And a main reason that I'm home with the kids, right, versus putting them in, daycares or
so let's talk a bit
having
about
a full-time
let's talk a bit
nanny,
about
right?
that, because that is interesting, right? Like it's been now 6 years in a row you've been on a rolling mat leave.
Yeah,
it's the mat leave that it's like the song that never ends.
The mat leave that
never ends.
Yes, it goes on
and on, my friend. Some people started.
Some people told her to go back to work. And that's not what she wanted, and she'll continue staying home, and that's just how it goes. This is a mat leave that
never ends.
I did pretty well.
That's pretty good.
I could be a rap artist.
Like a rapper? Like you said rap artist, like you're trying to make it sound like sophisticated. A rap artist.
That's just how I would say it. That's how I speak.
Okay, all right.
Okay, yeah. Go on with the mat leave something.
You gonna do a rap about it or
no?
Okay.
That was a lot.
Where I was going was just that it was like kind of a rolling mat leave, right? And it's been quite some time now, 6 years. And so when you think about the trade-offs, right? Because the other way we could have done it in theory, right, is we could have said, okay, you keep working and then we get a nanny, right, and then it's kind of. From a cost perspective, like you kind of end up, you make some money,
make a little bit more,
you pay taxes on that money too, right? And
you
get a nanny. It's like, is it really worth it? Like, maybe talk a little bit about the trade-offs, because I think a lot of people go through these trade-offs, right?
Yeah, so I will start off by saying it's 100% a tremendous privilege to even be able to stay home with the kids.
Yeah.
Right? That I have to acknowledge that.
That's important to clarify, because everybody's in a different life situation. And there are many people where, obviously they've no choice.
Where it's not feasible.
It's not feasible. They have no choice but for both parents to work, to pay rent, to pay mortgages and so on, right? So we got to totally respect that. But
I totally respect that is 100% a privilege, and I'm very appreciative and thankful for that privilege.
Right.
But when we had kids, when I was pregnant with Arya, like I told people in my office, I'm like, I'll be back in 3 months. Like, we had scheduled trials and stuff. Like, I had no intention of staying home. I didn't see my, life this way. I didn't see myself being a stay-at-home mom. I was like, no, I gotta work. Right? And then, then I'm home with Arya, and then I'm like, I wasn't ready to go back. I wasn't ready to leave her. right? And this just kept going on and on and on. And I don't think we've had a few, like, several conversations along the way of, like, how's it going? What do you want to do? And there was never, like, a sit down where we're like, I am now going to stay home with the kids forever.
Right.
Like, it just is kind of happening. Someone's
kind
at
of
the door.
evolved naturally. Yeah, someone is at the door, but we're going to continue anyways.
Are we going to ignore the doorbell?
Yeah, I think so.
Can I just quickly check in case?
Okay, let's do that. We will edit this
until
part out.
Amazon guy needs like a signature.
Okay, we're gonna edit this part out, or wait a second, I'm going to pretend I'm going to edit it out, and maybe I'm going to just hog the microphone. This is my opportunity to hog the microphone, and I'm watching Mandy now, who's like coming back here. I wasn't trying to hog the microphone, seriously.
I need my packages. Need my packages.
Okay.
Yeah. So where were we?
You were in the middle of talking about, I think, your mat leave situation.
So for us, like, if all three options were feasible.
Yeah.
We could get a nanny, full-time nanny. We could put them in daycare, or I could stay home.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, I just didn't have the heart to go back. Even though mentally I really wanted to. Like, there was days, as you know, I would call you and I'd be like, I hate this. Like, I hate it. I want to, like, jump off the balcony. I'm so stressed out. Like, it's not easy being home. Right. I make it look easy now because I'm used to it, and I feel like now I'm managing my department very well. Mm-hmm. But before, I was kind of just like chaos, and everything was everywhere, and I was a new mom that really didn't know what she was doing.
Right.
But yeah, so anyways, it was a difficult decision, both ways. You know, work-wise, staying at home as well wasn't easy. But you know what? This is what, in the long term, has worked well for us.
Yeah, and it may not in every single case, but for us, it's been a no-brainer, right? When we think about how much better it's made life and how much happier it's made life and more balanced. And then from a child perspective, right, I think they're developmentally...
It's more than just being like a stay-at-home mom. I feel like it's like home management.
Yeah,
right. Like,
there's
you
a lot
have
of that.
Absolutely nothing to do with what goes on, like, inside the house, right? And I have absolutely nothing to do.
That's true.
With everything that you do, right?
That's
Like,
true.
so we have our own
departments,
and then we manage and control our own departments.
That's
right.
true.
And I think that works well because if you have too much kind of like interception into each other's world, I feel like that wouldn't work for us. It might work for other people, but for us, I'm like, no, I need complete control.
Same here.
I need to be the primary decision maker.
We're both control freaks at what we're doing. We're going to be the head of our departments. Right?
Yeah, we can't be co-heads.
Yeah, we can't be co-heads. This co-head thing doesn't work, right?
It wouldn't work.
Which is funny because when we make, like, if we're making any kind of content together, right? Besides, like, this is I think is a little bit different. This is more of just a chill conversation. But if we're doing something like when we started making content for the Embassy Grand, for example.
Oh, we were like constantly like.
We would be constantly like, no, I want to do it this way. No, I want to do it this way. No, I want to do it this way, right? So,
we're very both of us very much need to be in the driver's seat.
Two alpha personalities, like right? It's like that.
But it works well because, like, he does everything in his realm. I do everything in mine. If there's a massive decision to be made, of course we will consult each other.
Yes.
But it's not really like, we're not really seeking permission. It's more just like, I would like your input.
Right.
You know, on this thing.
So is there anything you would like my input on right now, live?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I was wondering what you were going to bring up there if I asked you.
No.
Okay.
I don't need your input on anything.
Okay, you don't? Why don't you need my input on anything?
Because I'm managing my department very well.
Oh, okay, got it. Hey, speaking of which, you had an interesting idea the other day, which was, remember your idea to kind of do an organizational show?
Oh, yeah.
I wonder.
Because, you know what?
Maybe you should put that out there to your audience if they would enjoy organization-related content.
Oh, they love it.
That sounds mind-numbingly boring to me.
I know, but people enjoy it. I love it, as you know.
Yeah.
Right? I love, like, oh my God, like, folding the laundry and putting it away, cleaning closets.
I almost want to, like, deliberately mess up the closet sometimes because I'm like, she will probably have, like, I'll make her whole day.
Oh, so you do that for me as a gift.
As a gift.
That's a
because
gift.
I want you to have the opportunity to reorganize everything. Right? Otherwise, I would be depriving you of that fun.
So basically, that whole mess that I share in the closet, you've done that as an act of love.
Oh, 100% as an act of love. I'm a neat and clean and organized guy. The washroom, the closet, you know.
Okay, speaking of acts of love.
Okay.
This episode is like completely
All over the
everywhere.
place?
Right?
That's
This is
okay.
supposed to be an introductory, but
That's
I guess
okay.
this is an introduction.
This is an introduction to the chaos.
Scatterbrains.
The chaos that is the Kandola family.
The chaos with the Kandolas.
The chaotic Kandolas. That's what we should call it. Kandola chaos.
No, we should call it chaos with the Kandolas.
Chaos with the Kandolas. Keeping up with the chaos?
Yeah,
With the Kandolas?
keeping up with the chaos.
Oh, you should probably
See, look, we've
plug-
already lost ourselves.
You should probably plug your Keeping Up with the Kandolas just in case someone has not gone to Keeping Up with the Kandolas on TikTok.
That's why they're here.
On Instagram. No, but it's entirely possible that they're going to see this on YouTube.
Okay,
and
like
not
randomly?
know. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, maybe.
I don't know.
Okay.
There you go. That's the plug.
Okay.
Oh, and Way Too Sunny at Way Too Sunny. Don't just follow my wife. Follow Way Too Sunny as well.
Okay, see, now we lost our whole point when we got scatterbrained.
Okay, what were we talking about?
I have no idea.
We were talking about how we were all over the place. We were talking about organizing closets.
Yeah.
Right? And how I do it on purpose.
Oh, and then we were like
Right.
acts of love.
Acts of love.
So
yeah.
acts of so there's these, like, obviously everyone knows that there are love languages, right? I don't know how many there are or what there is or what any of that means, to be honest. But I will say that my love language is acts of service,
Okay.
right? So, you know, some people are like gifts, receiving gifts, or acts of kindness, or I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
So words of love, like affectionate words, I don't know, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm,
But mine are definitely with him acts of service.
Okay.
So, for example, for me, like, you know, he leaves like a disaster of a mess, or he leaves all the kitchen cabinets open and stuff. Like, that doesn't really impact me. People are like, how do you live like that? I'm like, I don't really care. Like, it doesn't really bother me. And I find it kind of hilarious that someone lives like the Tasmanian devil, right? And we are different people, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to different people after this.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But for example, when I say acts of service, things like the small things where your partner is thinking of you, instead of like, I know he's not making a mess to annoy me, like that's just who he is,
Right.
But it's when he does a small thing to go out of his way where I look at it, I'm like, oh, he did that intentionally.
Right.
For example, things like if I've gone on a trip without him or something and I've come back and my car is the gas tank is full.
Sure.
Stuff like that, right? Where I'm like, okay, like he knew I was coming back, so he went and he filled the gas. Like,
Right.
that has happened before.
Yes, it has.
The other
Yeah.
thing is, like, in our shower, for example, this is one I always talk about because it's like the smallest thing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So there's a small shower niche,
Mm-hmm.
and it really only fits like 2 shampoo bottles and a bar of soap,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I had, like, when we moved into this house, I had put like his shampoo and body wash and stuff like up on there, and I put mine on the floor in the corner because we didn't have like any other caddy or anything. So I put mine on the corner on the floor.
Yeah.
And then when I went to shower the next morning, they had been switched,
Ah, yes.
right? And I was like, okay. And I remember being in the shower and getting like all teary-eyed because I was like, this is so sweet.
Right.
Like, he went and he moved his stuff to the floor and put mine up
Yeah,
there.
just to make it easier for you to access,
Yes, but
right?
for me, I'm like, okay,
Right.
so that's an act of service where he actually stopped and thought, like, no, why is
Right.
my shit up here and hers on the floor? And he
Right.
switched it.
I think about
And
that
he
as an
didn't-
act of chivalry, right?
Yes.
Just making it easier for... Yeah,
And so
yeah.
those things are what means more to me than if he were to walk home like with a bouquet of roses. I'd be like,
Right.
okay, what am I going to do with these? Now I have
Right.
to take care of these flowers.
Right.
Right? Like, I'm just, that for me, those small things matter a lot more.
That's well said.
Yeah. And us being different personalities. We want to talk about.
Yeah, we can talk a bit about that. So, I mean, we have, which is interesting because we were just talking earlier about how, you know, both of us are control freaks, right? We obviously
Yeah.
are very...
We are very different people.
We're expressive, we're control freaks, we're extroverts, right?
I guess there are a lot of similarities
a
as well.
lot of similarities as well,
Yeah.
to be clear, to start.
But also very different.
But also very different, yeah. So why don't you get into some of the differences?
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, when it comes to you being messy and stuff
Yeah,
like that,
that's
right?
one
And
huge
like
difference,
that's a
yeah.
huge difference.
Yeah.
I can't operate that way.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know if someone's been in my closet, if my hanger is slightly,
Yeah.
you know, off angle.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm
Totally.
like, who touched my hanger? Right? So I know, like, I'm very organized and he's not. But the thing is, like, you can't, like, when we were dating and stuff, like, you can't expect, you know, that person to change for you. And I think that's what causes a lot of problems in relationships. Like, he's never going to be a clean freak and organized, and I'm never going to become a messy person.
Be interested in martial arts and jiu-jitsu and all the other
Yeah,
things
but I'm
that
just
I
saying, like,
enjoy
even the
life,
messy
right?
example, I'm never
Yeah.
going to be that
Okay,
person.
sure,
So why
sure.
would I expect
Sure.
him to change? And
Yeah.
because then why wouldn't you just say, why don't you just be a disaster with me?
Or adopt my interest is where I was going to take it.
Yeah.
Right? And vice versa, right? Why would you
Exactly.
expect me to adopt your interests? And,
Yeah, I like shopping,
Yeah.
and I love it, and I'm really good at it.
No, she is. You know what? In all fairness, that sounds like haha.
I know, it sounds like-
oh, my wife is good at shopping, right?
I don't mean I'm good at spending money. I am
no.
good at that too, but I'm just saying I'm actually good at skilled shopping.
Right. And let's define skilled shopping for a second, right? It's finding the right item.
I changed
at the
you
right location
everything.
at the right price.
Yes.
Right. And it's easy to just buy random stuff, and
Yeah.
you know it's you manage all that. You manage the returns.
Yeah.
Right. So we're not wasting money on,
Yeah.
on stuff that we're not going to use. It's there's an efficiency, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you hate that.
I hate that. I hate shopping.
Right.
It's
So
one
I'm
of
just
many
saying,
things
like,
that just
there's
work.
a lot of differences, and then you just complement each other,
Yeah.
right? And I remember, it was back on the cleanliness, sorry,
Okay.
when we were dating, and I like did a load of your laundry or something. Keep in mind, guys, you were working like what? 80 hours a week?
80 or 90 hours a week, probably.
80, 90 hours a week. So
Yeah.
it wasn't something like you didn't ask me to do anything.
Yes.
You didn't do, but I'm like, I'm here.
Right.
Might as well toss a load in because he's still working.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember like this friend I had at that point, who is not my friend anymore,
Right.
was like, girl, if you start cleaning up after him, he's never going to start cleaning up after himself. Don't do it for him.
Oh, he's going to start expecting it.
Yeah,
like
he's
that.
going to expect it from you.
Such a horrible,
If you do it once, you'll have to do it forever. I was like,
poisonous attitude, right?
such a poisonous toxic attitude. I'm like, I love
It's
him.
like you're
and
like,
he's
I
busy.
actually like and love this person, to be clear. So
Yeah.
like, we
Like,
actually try to make each other's lives better. And
I'm
it's-
trying to make his life
We're
better.
we're not trying to like compete with each other. This is my arch nemesis.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, this is someone I love, and they're busy. They can't get to this. And that's at that point where our friendship I kind of
Yeah.
just ended it because I'm like, we are not aligned in our thinking.
Yeah.
Right. You clearly don't want the best for me.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
well, your best is different than like I'm not in competition with my husband.
Right.
Right. At that boyfriend at that time, like I'm not in a
Right.
competition with him. I'm not here keeping score.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. And like I'm like, anyways,
Anyhow, it's I
no
think-
keeping score either.
Yeah, no keeping score. That's probably worth elaborating on a little bit, right? That like I think part of the reason for why that is so toxic is that it gets at people's true intentions.
Yeah.
Right? If your true intention is like what you're saying, to keep score and to try to one up someone else, it's going to manifest itself in different ways that are bound to create problems. And it may not be on like day one or week one or month one, but eventually it'll be the case that starts to create friction.
It's that whole
because your
concept of-
intention is off, right? You might be going through the motions and trying to do the actions to veil that intention, but it's like people can sense energy and sense intention.
100%.
Right? Like I think for whatever reason, like people say in your gut you can sometimes feel it, right? And you're like, this person, dogs are notoriously good at this,
Oh,
right?
very good at it.
For being able to feel out people that are good people, right?
Yeah, like their
Versus
energy and
people
stuff,
that-
and be like, oh,
yeah, their energy, as you said,
yeah,
right?
our dog, like Pat, he passed now, but
Yeah.
I was very wary of people that he did not like.
Right.
Because I'm like, what is he picking up
What
on
is
that
he picking
I'm
up?
not?
Yeah, totally. So I think that's why it doesn't work when people like that, former friend of yours, right,
Yeah.
have that kind of negativity and that toxic attitude, right? Because
And it's also like those are the same people that will get into an argument or an issue with their significant other, and then say, oh well, remember last year or 3 months ago you did this. And now you're doing
sure.
it, and blah, 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 where they're keeping a mental
score
scoreboard.
and competing,
And
like, aha.
like, that's not how you
yeah.
have a happy and
No.
healthy marriage,
No,
right?
no,
That's
no.
not how a marriage works.
Exactly.
So I can confidently say in the 10 years we've been together, that has never happened.
Yeah.
Where either one of us has said, well, you've done this before.
Yeah.
Or, you said this to me at this
Totally.
time. There's never a you said or you did. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, when we ever do have I'll call it
Difference of opinion?
disagreement.
Difference of opinion.
Yeah. I usually win.
I don't know about this.
Because I'm usually right.
For those people that are listening to the audio only version, I'm looking at the camera going, no, just this is all just for entertainment purposes. None of this, what's about to come is accurate.
Yeah, but there are, like, I can, like, also say that confidently, like, we don't have fights,
No, we don't have fights.
right? Like, I don't think grown adults,
Yeah.
that have, the capability to speak to each other and voice their opinions and voice their,
Yeah. Differences of opinion,
Difference of
right? You should be able
opinion,
to just articulate why you feel the way you feel and talk through it.
or what you
and find
did
a
to make me
solution.
feel this way. I could say, this
Right.
morning, when you went to work, you didn't exactly smile at me the way I wanted you to smile. And then I'm just saying, giving an example, like,
I was gonna say what?
Like you're just open with each other. You're not keeping these things in. You're not harboring resentment, right? And letting that boil, right? Like there's none of that.
Totally.
Right? We're very light. Like we're very light, I guess, in our relationship because we're very open right away.
Yes.
It's usually me who has an issue. Like Sunny is just he's a good guy. I gotta say, he's a good guy.
I'm pretty chill all the time.
He's pretty chill, to get along with. Right? Easy to get along with. It's just when he gets like super stressed out.
Yes.
Right? But then I know him well enough to be like, okay, he's super stressed. Like we'll just like back up a little bit.
It's also worth mentioning, right, that I think you do a really good job with this, and that you laid out, like right at the outset, right, when kind of a relationship started at some point, you wrote out like the commandments of a relationship, right?
And those are really important to us.
And you know, these commandments are just general, like we're talking about, right? Like no one's keeping score. We're here to make each other better every single day, right? To make ourselves better and make each other better. There's things like that
that are super important to us.
Fundamentally true things, right?
Yeah.
That just philosophically it's important to see, and you actually framed it. Right?
Yeah, and it's in our room.
You agree with all those things. I agree with all those things.
Yeah.
Right? They just make life better when people kind of live that way, and it serves as a reminder.
People have asked me to share those commandments because I've kind of
it's just
blurred them out a little bit.
I think,
but I find it like I'm very open and public about almost everything in my
virtually
life.
all of them will just go into our conversation.
That those commandments very personal to us.
Yes.
Right? Like I had somebody message saying like, where do I copy and paste this text? I'm like, you can't.
You can't. You know, you're reminding me of now when you said copy and paste.
Our wedding?
So Mandy gives fantastic speeches, by the way. Like I'll tell my wife when she does things that are outstanding, right? And
Thank you.
one of the things you do that are outstanding and better than me, frankly, is your ability to give speeches.
Yeah.
Right. I've seen obviously a few powerful speeches you've given, and that one,
including eulogies.
That's
what you were saying.
Yeah, that's one that I was like, oh my goodness, that was the most powerful, moving speech I've ever honestly heard in my life.
It was a eulogy.
That particular eulogy you delivered.
I know.
But the second most powerful speech was the one at our
wedding.
Wedding reception, right? I thought it was absolutely outstanding, and what I was going to say was funny was because it got put towards our same day edit.
No,
right?
so what they did is they took my speech and me talking and overlaid it
yes.
onto our same day edit.
Yeah.
Which was something, it was Cineverse, our video guys who were fantastic.
Shout out to Cineverse.
Shout out to Sunny and Gersimran at Cineverse.
Yes.
And they did this, and they made this beautiful masterpiece. Like, they had already made a same-day edit.
Yeah.
And they made a second one because my speech was, I'm going to, like, toot my own horn, but my speech was so moving.
Yeah.
They made a second same-day edit and overlaid my speech onto our wedding video. Right? Like a 10-minute clip.
Right.
Which I can share and post. It's on my Instagram.
Yeah.
But, so they had so they told me, they're like, okay, so now because we've done this, there's other brides that are doing your exact same speech.
Yeah.
And then they're asking us to overlay
it the same way.
And then the videographers are like, no, we're not doing that.
I'm sorry.
Like, I'm sorry.
To their credit.
To their credit. They're like, those were her words.
Yeah.
And
we're not going to just like keep making the copy paste same day edit where we take, first of all, you're ripping off her speech.
Yeah.
Which that's bad enough already if that's what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
But second of all, you want us to like create the exact same thing.
I had like a few like women reach out to me too, like, do you have your speech written down? Can you send it to me? I'm like, no.
It's my speech. You write your own speech.
Well, me and my it was very like
very personal,
personal and very specific
totally.
To our relationship and our situation.
Totally.
Right? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, if you need to copy somebody's speech, maybe you need to think a little bit harder about your relationship.
Hey, let me ask you a random question, because you obviously create a ton of content, right? Mm-hmm. Because so much of what happens, I feel like on TikTok, right, and Instagram, is people get inspired by an idea, and it's almost a beautiful thing in a sense. In that this is obviously different than a personal speech, right?
Personal speech versus like I'm just saying, like, if somebody makes like a cool video like jumping out of their front door or something, I'm like, okay, that's something that's like, okay, fine, you're just like jumping out.
And I'll make my own version.
It's not like something super personal and like deep.
Sure. It's just a fun artistic idea, and it's like, okay, why don't I take that and see what I can do with it, right?
Yeah. People do that all the time on like
totally
TikToks and trends and stuff. Well, that's what trends are, right? It's everyone doing the same thing over and over again. That's a very different.
Come to think of it, that even happens in music. When you think about like hip hop, for example, right? It's built on sampling, where DJs take samples, they cut them up, they do different things. It's like whether it's audio, video. My point is,
emotional thing.
100%. That's just artistic creativity, where you're playing with something that
and
someone
they're
else
putting
might
your
have
own
done,
spin on it.
and putting your own spin on it, right?
Yeah.
I think a good thing in general, a good habit, is to acknowledge if it was something unique, right, and not just a general trend that a million people are doing, right?
Yeah.
To acknowledge if one is going to do that, the creator, right?
Oh, whenever, like, if I ever do something like that and I've seen the original creator, like somebody who...
Just give them their
Then I'll give them
respect,
credit, like, this is who I got this from, right?
Yeah. This is my twist on whatever.
Yeah, there's like a video of me and the kid, like, recording remember I'm listening to, like, the noise you're making, like, your butt dial to hear if I hear a woman's voice. Like, I credited that original creator because that's the only other person I saw do it, right? And I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. I can put my own spin on this.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that'd be fun to do more like acting kind of content. You know what I mean? Where it's like skits and like acting. Because that happens all the time, like naturally with our own lives, right? Where we like do our own. We'll talk about how funny it would be, like a particular situation, if it were to be a skit where X, Y, and Z happened, right?
Yeah, there's like, so now like Sunny works from the office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Yeah.
And I drive him to the GO station, right? GO station is like the commuter trains in Toronto, right?
Yes.
And so I drive him to the GO station every morning on every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which is only about a 10-minute drive, right? But during those 10 minutes, I'm half asleep. He drives, and then we switch when we get there, right? But he drives, and what time is it?
Oh, it's all good.
I gotta pick up the kids from the birthday party.
Oh no!
I'm late. I gotta go. Bye.
No! So we are signing off, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Keeping Up with the Kandolas podcast. And that just goes to show you, by the way, what happens when busy parents decide to do a podcast. So, anyways, it's been great, guys. We're out, and we'll chat again soon. You want to say bye?
No, I need my phone.
Okay, she needs her phone. Take care. Peace.